Dave Ramsey! He is a legend. If you're like me, then you probably remember being in a personal finance class where the teacher just turned him on the big screen projector, and that was pretty much your entire day, just following along on whatever worksheet you had from them that was just taken from their website. Now, if we were still in like the 90s, a lot of his information would still be relevant, but as time has moved on and money has gotten harder to come by with how it works now, you can't go by pretty much anything that Dave Ramsey says. The only things I really remember from him is that 1, he never wants you to get a credit card because credit's bad and you shouldn't have it. 2, buy just a cheap working car, which we'll get into later, but that's not really possible anymore. And 3, snowball your debt, which is the only good thing that's ever come out of this man's mouth. With home prices increasing by however much they have, how are most people expected to just be able to pay out of pocket for a house? You can't. So if you want to buy a home, you need a mortgage, which requires you to already have a good credit score, which you can't build credit without a credit card or other kinds of credit. And the same thing goes for renting. Most landlords aren't going to give out a home to anyone if they don't have previous experience with some kind of credit so that they know their renters are going to be able to pay on time. So yeah, immediately, one of his most important things is thrown right out the window because you can't live in 2022 without credit of any kind. Now, Dave also always said to buy a good working pre-owned car. I remember specifically him saying that you should be able to find one for around $1,000 or less. Dave, what fucking car can you buy for $1,000 that actually works? If you live where I do, that means the car probably doesn't have heat or cooling, and you're just gonna be burning in the summer and probably dying of hypothermia in the winter. Especially with the price of pre-owned cars going up, it is really, really hard to find even a working car for $1,000, especially out where I live. Now, I have seen some cars for around $600 to $800, but typically they don't either have working heating or cooling, or they really need a shit ton of maintenance, so all in all, the price is probably going to be more around $2,000 after you get it repaired. This just isn't that relevant. Now, of course, if you know someone who's selling a car and you're on good terms with them, there's a good chance you might be able to find one for this price. Not everyone's going to have that luck. It's really annoying in the summer whenever you have a car without working AC and you just show up to work completely drenched in sweat, or, you know, if you're going to school, showing up completely drenched, it ruins your fucking day. So just get at least working AC. At least in the winter, you don't sweat when you're freezing cold. It's just you have that chance of hypothermia. Snowballing your debt. Snowballing your debt is very important. If you are paying off multiple credit cards or multiple kinds of debt, it is very important to get the highest interest rate ones out of the way first, so that all in all, you're paying less over time. This is the one thing Dave has said that has consistently remained accurate, and I'm not even going to add anything onto this. It is the only thing that you should really listen to from this man. But you might be thinking, Shelby, isn't this some of his old advice? What about everything he's saying now? It still has to be pretty good. He's probably changed it. I have no idea what he thinks about some of the old things he's said now. Whenever I try to find some of it, it seems like he still says a lot of the same things. But there are other statements he's made that are very recent that
genuinely piss me off,
and I assume will piss most of you off too. So let's start with something that's very relevant to a lot of people and probably impacted them pretty hard. And that is the stimulus payment from around 2020 and 2021. Now, you would think a financial expert like Dave would be thinking, oh, giving people who need help some money could be a great opportunity to stimulate the economy and everything like that. No. Dave thinks the opposite. Dave has outright said that if $600 or $1,400 changes your life, then you're pretty much screwed already. Not everyone getting this money is in the state that you think they're in, Dave. A lot of people are just thankful that they're getting this because it gives them a good amount of money to go spend on recreational activities. Like me and my wife, we were able to go out and just buy some things that we weren't usually able to buy. We were able to spend more on groceries. It's very simple stuff that I don't think Dave understands because he is a millionaire. Also, on top of this, Dave always talked about having an emergency fund, so whenever people are getting this money, and I see a lot of people and friends talking about how they're going to use it to build an emergency fund, it's really funny to think about how Dave doesn't think this should be used or given out because those people are screwed already, even though this could easily help them build a new set of wealth. Next up, we're going to be talking about Dave's response to an article that was made about him, and his response to that article because Holy moly, that's it. I'm just gonna say holy moly and that's it. Dave is the most narcissistic person when replying to this, and I just need to show you guys how hilarious it is, and just try and imagine responding to this and how you would respond to this. And I just want to see what you guys say in the comments. Now, almost all of this is because a guy made a post about Dave buying a mansion that was very expensive, and from what I've seen, Dave already fucking sold. So we're gonna go through some of these replies that he had to the article, because the actual article itself is just someone talking about Dave buying a mansion. It's very hit piece. It doesn't really do anything to paint Dave in a bad light. Essentially, the entire article was just him essentially saying that he hopes Dave followed his own advice and paid with non-credit. So let's get into the article here. Our home is a very small percentage of our net worth. This is one of the first things Dave says. My man, a $16 million mansion is a small percentage of your net worth. Yes, it's just a measly 1% of my net worth. It's just another mansion I can have. What the fuck? I wish I could just have a mansion like that, dude. Yes, it blows my mind how much it costs to maintain a lot of things God has called me to manage. We have a 64,000 square foot office building paid for that we spend a lot of natural resources and money to keep operating, and from where I came from, it is sometimes hard to emotionally grasp the zeros. However, I man up and step up to it to do what God gave me to do. It is weird some days, though. Dave, God is not in your ears telling you how to live life as a millionaire. If anything, he would be telling you how to be a humble man and pretty much not respond like this. If there is someone talking to you, I guarantee
It is the devil.
because I don't think God would have you acting like this. I guess it could also be the same thing as that Tube of Demons pastor guy, because he also has a private jet, so I guess God was telling him to buy a private jet as well, so he's not with all of the demons in that tube. I used to say ignorant things, like, what does anyone need with a blank like that, when I was immature. Now I've been blessed to see how God uses people who are obedient when they are broke and when they aren't. I was with a really godly guy a few weeks ago worth $2.2 billion. He gives $300 to $500 million a year. Some of you sent him hate mail, worried about his soul because he bought a $110,000 car. That does not make him wrong. That makes that person silly, foolish, and spiritually immature. Note, God gave him $2.2 billion to manage. God did not assign you to help. God does not bless people with money. They either make it themselves or they find some other way to make that money. A good example of that is someone like Dave Ramsey, who didn't really make his own money. He instead pretty much sold one of those scam services that you see pretty much every YouTuber bash, because it's a 9-part service that you're paying $130 for that does absolutely nothing, because even if you bought it, you're not going to be any richer at the end of the day. You're going to be more poor after spending all that money. But that's pretty much it. Dave Ramsey isn't someone that most people should be looking at, because how he built his wealth isn't something that a lot of people are going to be able to do if you just look at his history. I would much rather you actually go to someone like Stephen Graham, who provides people with relevant advice that actually applies to them, because it's universal and it's for a more modern generation like us. But that's it for the video. If you guys enjoyed, then make sure you hit that like button and sub to my channel. It's greatly appreciated. And if you have anything you want to say in the comments, let me know and I would love to read it and reply. But that's going to do it for the video, and I just hope that you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.